The Lodge records from July 1782 list an inventory of sealed manuscripts. One entry describes a codex bound in black leather with a single symbol stamped on the cover, a circle bisected by a vertical line. The official cataloging notes identify it only as document number 47. The content description is a single phrase, on the nature of identity and its grantors. When the Ingolstadt raid occurred in 1785, the Bavarian authorities claimed every manuscript was seized and burned. The official report lists 37 codices destroyed by flame. But the Lodge's own secret inventory, the one kept hidden in a separate vault, records 38 items. One codex was never surrendered. That missing manuscript surfaced in a private collection in Frankfurt in 1937. A dealer named Karl von Unsettling purchased it at auction. He claimed it had been in his family's possession since the Congress of Vienna in 1815. The dealer's records note that the codex was written in a cipher that required 3 separate translators to decode. The manuscript opens with a single declaration that challenges everything you believe about who you are. It does not use your name, your nationality, or your family lineage as your identifier. Instead, it describes a system where your identity is a temporary permit issued by a council you never met. The Codex calls this permit a mask of participation. If you have ever held a passport, a driver's license, or a birth certificate and felt that the document was somehow not you, the manuscript says your instinct is correct. The Codex states that every legal identity is a construct granted by an invisible authority. That authority, according to the document, is the same council that designed the Illuminati structure in 1776. Here's the detail the researchers tried to bury. The Codex contains a list of 47 families. Each family, according to the manuscript, holds a key of recognition, a secret method for identifying members of the council across generations. The keys are not names or passwords. They are blood markers, genetic sequences that the families have preserved through controlled marriages for more than 3 centuries. The genealogical registers from the parish archives in Frankfurt confirm the pattern. The same surnames appear in 1785, 1850, 1945, and the present day. The von Branken family is listed as one of the key holders. The dealer who bought the Codex in 1937 was himself a descendant of the original key holders from 1782. Now the document makes its central claim: your identity is not yours. It is a temporary permit issued by the council to allow you to participate in society. The permit has an expiration date, a set of behavioral conditions, and a revocation clause. The council can cancel your identity at any moment, and the legal system will confirm the cancellation without hesitation. If you have ever watched the news and seen a person disappear from public records, their name erased from databases, their documents declared invalid, the manuscript says you witnessed the system in operation. The council does not need to kill you. It simply revokes your permit. The legal fiction dissolves and you become a non-person. The Codex describes 3 levels of identity permits. The first level is the general permit issued to every citizen at birth. This permit grants basic rights, access to education, health care, employment. The second level is the special permit, granted to those who serve the council directly. This permit allows access to restricted information and networks. The third level is the permanent permit, reserved for the 47 families themselves. The manuscript states that the council maintains a master registry in a vault beneath a building in Vienna. The registry contains the true names of every person who has ever held a permit. The true name is not your legal name. It is a unique biological signature that the council encoded into your bloodline at birth. Now here is the part that changes everything. The Codex claims that the council can revoke your permit remotely by altering the registry. It describes a mechanism involving electromagnetic frequencies that resonate with the biological signature. The manuscript calls this mechanism the annulment wave. It has been in operation since 1947. If you have ever felt a sudden shift in your circumstances, a job loss that made no sense, a relationship that dissolved without explanation, a legal problem that appeared from nowhere, the Codex suggests you may have experienced a partial annulment. The council tests the system on individuals to calibrate the wave before broader application. That moment when you consider the annulment wave, the mechanism that could explain those inexplicable shifts in your life, is the moment the Codex demands a second look. If you want to understand what this frequency really is and how it might connect to what you have felt, subscribe so you are here when we pull back the next layer. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had an experience that felt like a partial annulment, a door closing with no reason you could see? The evidence for this claim is embedded in the Codex itself. The manuscript includes a diagram of a device constructed in a laboratory in Ingolstadt in 1784. The diagram shows a copper coil surrounding a crystal chamber. The notes describe a frequency that interacts with the vital essence of a living subject. Declassified MI5 files from 1946 confirm that post-war Masonic continuity programs studied electromagnetic methods of population control. The files reference a frequency-based identification system proposed by a German engineer named Dr. Heinrich Fichte. Fichte's laboratory was in the same building that housed the Council's Vienna vault. The codex was removed from the von Branken collection in 1945 by Allied forces. It was transferred to the British Library in London, where it was catalogued as a medieval anatomical manuscript, a deliberate mislabel. The manuscript sat in the restricted collection for 30 years before a researcher named Dr. Evelyn Hartmann requested access in 1976. Hartmann recognized the cipher from her work on Renaissance cryptographic systems. She spent 6 months decoding the first section. Her notes describe reaching the passage about identity permits and the master registry. She stopped her work immediately and requested full access to the manuscript. The library denied her request. The codex was moved to a different restricted shelf and recatalogued with a new number. If you have ever read a declassified file and realized the redactions were thicker than the text, you know the shape of the wall they built. The same wall protects the Frankfurt vault, the Vienna registry, and the 47 families who hold the keys. The wall is made of silence, legal obstruction, and the illusion that the manuscript never existed. But the manuscript does exist. It is still in the British Library's restricted collection, catalogued as Manuscript Ad, 78914. The library's public catalog lists it as missing. The archival staff know the truth. Their silence was sworn by oaths dating back to 1782. What the next page of the codex says, the council redacted. The final entry in the manuscript is a single word: collapse. The codex does not say when the collapse begins. It does not say who survives. It only says that when the permits are revoked, the council will issue new ones to a selected few. You are now looking at the third layer of the secret. The first layer is that the codex exists. The second layer is that it describes the permit system. The third layer is that the permit system is still operating, and you are holding a permit you never applied for. If what you are reading started to shift something, stay. This is where that continues. The manuscript has more to reveal, and the deeper layers are the ones that rewrite everything you assumed was your own identity. The codex contains a section titled On the Duration of Permits. This section describes a calendar system that does not match any known historical calendar. It uses cycles of 49 years, divided into 7 segments. Each segment represents a generation of permit holders. The manuscript states that the current generation began in 2009. You are living in the 7th segment of a cycle that began when the codex was written. The council has been counting down for over 200 years. The manuscript does not say what happens when the count reaches 0. It only says that the permits will be reconciled. This is the detail most researchers never saw. The calendar cycle aligns with specific historical events: the Congress of Vienna in 1815, the formation of the League of Nations in 1919, the establishment of the United Nations in 1945. Each event marks the beginning of a new segment. The Council uses these events to reset the permit system. If you have ever wondered why global instability has no coherent explanation, the Codex provides an answer, one no news network will read on air. The instability is the Council's mechanism for testing the annulment wave. Every war, every economic collapse, every pandemic weakens the permit holders and makes them more vulnerable to revocation. The manuscript describes a device called the Registry Gateway, a computer system housed in the Vienna Vault that connects the biological signatures of all permit holders to the Council's database. The gateway was built in 1953 by a team of engineers from the United States, Britain, and Germany. The Codex claims the gateway is now integrated with every national database on Earth. Your passport, your driver's license, your social security number, all of them are linked to the Registry Gateway. The Council can track your permit status in real time. They know when you are close to revocation, and they know when your permit is ready to be upgraded or downgraded. At what point did this stop sounding like history and start sounding like now? Write the moment in the comments. The Codex is not a relic of the past. It is an instruction manual that is still in use. The von Branken dealer's grandson, a man named Karl von Unzu Branken II, attempted to recover the Codex in 1998. He filed a legal claim against the British Library, arguing that the manuscript was stolen from his family by Allied forces. The case was dismissed without comment. The judge cited national security concerns in a sealed ruling. Branken II died in 2012 under suspicious circumstances. His death certificate lists the cause as cardiac arrest. His family's attorney stated that Brenkin had received threats in the weeks before his death. The threats mentioned the codex by name. The attorney's files were seized by an unnamed government agency 3 days after Brenkin's death. This is the pattern that the codex predicts. Every attempt to expose the permit system results in the revocation of the person's permit. The council does not argue. It does not negotiate. It simply cancels your identity and waits for you to disappear from public memory. But the codex contains a countermeasure. The manuscript describes a method for creating a shadow permit, a duplicate identity that exists outside the registry gateway. The shadow permit allows you to operate independently of the council's control. It requires a blood sample, a specific incantation written in the cipher, and a physical token. The token is a small metal disc inscribed with the same symbol that appears on the cover of the codex, a circle bisected by a vertical line. The manuscript states that the token must be forged from a specific alloy, 12 parts copper, 3 parts tin, 1 part silver. The alloy was used in the construction of the original registry gateway. If you are still reading this, you have already crossed a threshold. The first layer of the secret is now visible to you. The second layer requires deeper access. The codex is still under lock in the British Library. The vault in Vienna still operates. The 47 families still hold the keys. The question is not whether the council exists. The question is who is running it now. The codex names specific individuals in its later sections, names that appear in contemporary government records, corporate boards, and international organizations. The names have been redacted from public copies of the manuscript, but the original ink is still legible. The manuscript's final line is not a prediction. It is a statement of fact. The permits are temporary. The council is permanent. The collapse is inevitable. The codex does not offer hope. It offers information. That information is the only countermeasure you have. In the next chapter, we trace the bloodlines from Frankfurt to Vienna, and the names you will recognize. The families are still active. The vault is still sealed. The question no one answered yet is the one that changes everything. If your identity is a temporary permit, whose permission are you living by? A copper disc stamped with that same circle and line symbol was discovered in a collapsed chimney in Vienna in 2003. Construction workers renovating a 19th century townhouse found it embedded in the mortar, deliberately hidden. The disc was sent to the University of Vienna's archaeology department, where a graduate student named Petra Schiller examined it. She found traces of an alloy matching the exact ratio described in the codex, 12 parts copper, 3 parts tin, 1 part silver. Schiller published a brief paper in 2005 noting the unusual composition but unable to date the object precisely. Her paper attracted the attention of a private collector who offered to purchase the disc for a sum far exceeding its academic value. The university declined the offer. Within 6 months, Schiller's research funding was revoked, her position terminated, and the disc removed from the university's collection. Its current location is unknown. The London vault beneath the British Library extends 3 levels below ground. The restricted collection occupies the second level, where temperature and humidity are controlled to preserve the oldest manuscripts. Access requires 2 separate keys held by 2 different senior librarians. Neither librarian knows the other's identity. The protocol dates from 1952, when the codex was first moved to this location. A former British Library employee, speaking anonymously in 2015, described the procedure for accessing the codex. The employee stated that the manuscript was kept in a lead-lined box, wrapped in acid-free silk. The box was stored in a steel cabinet that required a third key, held in a safe deposit box at a bank in Zurich. The employee claimed the cabinet had not been opened since 1978, when Dr. Hartman made her final request. If you have ever watched a documentary about the British Library and felt that something was being omitted, your instinct was correct. The public tours never include the second level. The staff guides are instructed to redirect questions about the restricted collection to a written statement that reads, "These materials are not available for public viewing due to conservation requirements." The conservation requirements are real, but they are not the reason for the secrecy. The manuscripts on the second level are in excellent condition. The codex's leather binding shows minimal deterioration. The lead-lined box was designed to protect the manuscript from electromagnetic interference, not from humidity or temperature fluctuations. This detail connects directly to the manuscript's description of the registry gateway. The codex states that the vault housing the master registry is protected by a frequency barrier, an electromagnetic field that disrupts attempts to read or copy the biological signatures stored there. The barrier operates at a specific frequency, one that the manuscript describes as being in harmony with the Earth's natural resonance. The codex includes a diagram of this frequency barrier. The diagram shows a spiral antenna embedded in the walls of the Vienna vault. The antenna is connected to a power source described as perpetual, a phrase that researchers have interpreted as referring to geothermal energy. The vault beneath Vienna is built over a network of hot springs, which could provide an endless power supply. Now consider the implications of this design. If the registry gateway is protected by a frequency barrier, then the codex itself, stored in a lead-lined box, is shielded from that same frequency. The Council does not want the codex to be influenced by the registry's energy. They want to preserve it as it was written, untouched by the system it describes. This leads to a question that no researcher has answered. If the codex is shielded, why did the Council allow it to survive at all? The Ingolstadt raid burned 37 manuscripts. Why was this one spared? The answer lies in the codex's own structure. The manuscript is not merely a description of the system. It is a key. The codex contains instructions for creating new shadow permits. It describes the frequency needed to operate independently of the registry gateway. It lists the names of the 47 families and their biological markers. In the hands of someone outside the Council, the codex becomes a weapon. The Council allowed the manuscript to survive because they believed it could never be decoded. The cipher was designed to resist analysis for centuries, but the codex contains an unintended vulnerability. The cipher's key is embedded in the manuscript itself, hidden in the illustrations that accompany the text. The illustrations in the codex are not decorative. They are maps, the diagrams of the registry gateway, the frequency barrier, the 47 family markers. Each illustration contains a subtle geometric pattern that encodes a piece of the cipher's solution. The patterns are based on the proportions of the golden ratio, a mathematical constant known to the architects of the original Illuminati lodges. A mathematician named Dr. Helena Nowak recognized this pattern in 2008 while examining a facsimile of the codex's first page. Nowak was a specialist in Renaissance geometric symbolism. She noticed that the circle and line symbol on the cover appeared in the manuscript's illustrations, rotated at specific angles. The angles corresponded to Fibonacci numbers. Nowak published her findings in a peer-reviewed journal in 2010. Her paper was titled Geometric Ciphers in Late 18th Century Manuscripts. It did not mention the codex by name. It referred only to an unclassified document in the British Library's restricted collection. Within 3 months, Nowak's funding was cut, her university position was eliminated, and she was advised not to pursue further research in this area. If you have ever experienced a door closing suddenly when you approached it, you know the feeling of being blocked by an invisible hand. Nowak described her experience as a silent wall. No threats, no confrontations, just a systematic removal of every path forward. The wall is the Council's primary defense. It does not need to attack. It needs only to obstruct. The Codex describes this obstruction mechanism in a section titled On the Securing of Truth. The section states that the Council maintains a network of gatekeepers, individuals placed in key positions within academia, publishing, journalism, and government. The gatekeepers are not members of the 47 families. They are permit holders at the second level, granted access to restricted information in exchange for their silence. You have now seen how the silent wall operates, through gatekeepers who trade their silence for access, the very mechanism that crushed Nowak's research. Subscribe if you want to understand how this network was formalized in 1815 and where its coded signals still appear today. And in the comments, write gatekeeper. The gatekeepers do not know each other's identities. They communicate through coded signals embedded in academic journals, conference presentations, and even social media posts. A specific phrase used in a paper, a particular citation, a subtle alteration in a chart. These signals tell the Council that a potential exposure has been identified and neutralized. The Codex claims that the gatekeeper network has been operating since the Congress of Vienna in 1815. It was formalized at a meeting in a hotel room in Vienna on the night of June 9, 1815. The meeting was attended by representatives from the 47 families. The minutes of that meeting are sealed in the same vault that holds the registry gateway. But evidence of the gatekeeper network exists in plain sight. Every time a book on Illuminati history is removed from circulation without explanation, every time a documentary is canceled without cause, every time a researcher's findings are dismissed as conspiracy theory without proper review, the gatekeepers are performing their function. The Codex explains why this network is necessary. The Council cannot afford to acknowledge the Codex's existence publicly. If the manuscript were proven authentic, every permit holder in the world would question the authority behind their identity. The system would collapse not through force of arms, but through loss of belief. You are now reading about the fourth layer of the secret. The first layer is the Codex itself. The second is the permit system. The third is the ongoing operation of the system. The fourth is the mechanism of silence that keeps the system invisible. Each layer reveals a deeper truth about the control structure that surrounds you. The codex contains a warning in its final illustrated section. The warning states that anyone who reads beyond the first 6 layers of the manuscript will become a target of the gatekeeper network. The reader's permit will be flagged for revocation. Their biological signature will be monitored for signs of deviation. The warning is not a threat. It is a statement of fact. The Council does not negotiate with those who climb through the layers. It simply revokes their permit and waits for them to fall. A man named Victor Adler, a Vienna-based journalist, attempted to investigate the gatekeeper network in 2009. He had obtained a partial transcript of the codex through an anonymous source. Adler published a series of articles in an Austrian news magazine detailing the structure of the Council and the identity permit system. The articles were met with silence from major media outlets. No rebuttals, no corrections, no acknowledgement that they existed. Adler's sources inside the government confirmed that his articles were being monitored. His phone was tapped. His email was accessed. His bank accounts were flagged for unusual activity. Within a year, Adler was arrested on charges of tax evasion, a charge that his attorney described as fabricated. He spent 18 months in prison before the charges were dropped, without explanation. The pattern is consistent across every attempt to break the silence. The Council does not engage with the evidence. It isolates the person who presents it. It attacks their credibility through indirect means, financial irregularities, professional misconduct, personal scandal. The attacks are always deniable, always routed through third parties who have no connection to the Council. But the Codex describes a counter-strategy. The manuscript states that the gatekeeper network depends on the belief that no one will act. If a single person acts, the network is exposed to risk. If multiple people act simultaneously, the network becomes overwhelmed. The Codex calls this the coincidence of resistance, the moment when enough individuals challenge the system that it cannot suppress them all. That moment has not yet arrived. The manuscript predicts it will occur when the countdown reaches 0. The Council will announce a global reset, cancel all existing permits, and issue new ones to a selected group. The coincidence of resistance must occur before that announcement. After it, the system will be irreversible. The question you must now face is not whether the Council exists. The evidence is before you. The question is whether you will act on it. The Codex provides the information. The choice of what to do with it rests entirely with you. The manuscript ends with a final instruction. It is not a command. It is a description of the only response that can defeat the system. You must remember who you were before the permit was issued. You must reclaim the identity that the Council cannot revoke. You must act before the count reaches 0. The Codex is still in the British Library. The vault in Vienna is still sealed. The 47 families still hold their keys. But the information in this manuscript is now in your mind. That cannot be revoked. That cannot be redacted. That is the one thing the Council cannot take from you.